Hey guys, Jack Mars here from Man of Fire Films with something that is, long overdue. So, the second Toribash tournament. You guys remember that thing from like 2 years ago? Yeah, I think it's time we sort of talked about that and what happened, why it never finished, etc., etc. So this video is probably going to be quite long. I'm not going to leave anything out. Sort of cards on the table, full disclosure of every single thing that went wrong with that tournament. But first things first, the footage you're seeing right now is from one of the rounds we filmed that we didn't release because we were waiting to film the others, which I'll talk more about a bit later. Depending on how long this is, you may also see footage from previous rounds just to make it pretty and there to be something to watch. But the round you're actually seeing right now is a round that wasn't released, so if you are curious, this is what happened. Okay, so what went wrong with this tournament and why are there no more rounds? Well, first of all, the reason it took so long for me to actually talk about this is that I've been, for the past couple of months, just tracking down contestants, trying to make sure that they are no longer interested in competing, or if they are, trying to get the rounds filmed. And truth be told, we were kind of dicked about a little bit by certain people who were like, yes, we'll do it, and then vanished off the face of the earth for a couple of weeks, then came back and were like, yes, we'll do it, vanished off the face of the earth. So that was creating a lot of delays and was honestly really unfair to the people who have been on the ball about wanting to be a part of this and, being available when I needed them, etc., etc. So before we go any further, I feel like I should say for sure that everyone basically has dropped out at this point. We had like 3 contestants left. 2 or 3 people, I probably should say, I actually requested step out of the tournament. These would be people I consider friends, people I've spoken to in the past who I asked to step aside with a guaranteed slot in the next tournament we do. So that we could get through this a lot quicker, because I really, at this point, just wanted to end the thing. So a couple of people did just drop out because I asked them to, but there were quite a lot of contestants who just never responded to me or got back and were like, nah, I'm not interested. So yeah, basically at this point we have no rounds to film. There's nobody still interested in doing this, myself included, truth be told. So the winner of the tournament is Jay Snuffmars by default, because he's literally the only person still interested in doing it. He'll get the prize money, and for all intents and purposes, you can just consider him the winner of the second tournament. Now, for the nitty-gritty, long discussion-y part, what went wrong with the tournament? This part is going to be, like I said, fully honest. I'm going to be as open as I can about the stuff that went wrong on our end and some other ends, as we'll discuss. So I think the first problem with the tournament, which was something that was well beyond our control, was the technical difficulties. Those of you who have been following the tournament all along will remember that we were going very, very smooth for about 10 to 12 rounds, like week after week. It was coming out consistently, and it was really going really well because the people we had were interested, and they were only waiting a week or two to film their round. Then we got hit with that monster technical difficulty. Remember that 3 months or so that we just couldn't produce content properly because my computer was gone? Well, yeah, I couldn't do the tournament during that. And 3 months is a long time. I understand. It's a long time to expect people to wait to take part in an event like this. So naturally, a lot of people lost interest and people didn't want to do it. By the time we got our technical difficulties fixed, a lot of people just pretty much forgot this entire thing existed. And that sort of, I guess, ties me neatly into the next big problem, which was there was just too many people in this tournament. I thought from the first one, which was, I think I had 16 people in the first tournament, is that right? And then 8 rounds? I don't know. I had, it was 16. 16 people in the first tournament. So I thought, easily, we could do 32. Let's double it and do 32. That was our first mistake. That was the actual problem that was on our end. It was just too many people. We couldn't keep up with that many people. So when the technical difficulties happened, there was a lot more people to lose interest. I had to find and track down a lot more people to make sure that they were still interested in doing it. And that led to so many other problems, like people not responding, people just, as I said earlier, vanishing off the face of the earth. There was just too many people to track down, and we will be very, very conscious of that in our future events. So the technical difficulties really tripped us up, and the fact that we had 32 players to try to find was just damn near impossible. And the fact that, this may come across as me slightly blaming the audience when I say this, but I assure you I'm not. The fact that people did lose interest and wouldn't respond or just vanished, also, I gotta give credit. A lot of people did say, no, thank you, I don't want to do this anymore. And there were quite a few people still interested. We did release quite a few rounds when we came back from the technical difficulties. It just sucked that we couldn't do every round. But yes, there were some people, a very, very small minority of people who did kind of dick us about and say they were interested, but then wouldn't respond when I needed them, or we'd agree on a time for them to have the match and they just wouldn't show up. There was a lot of that, and because we had far too many people, more people than we could manage, it just meant that when one person dicked us about, it affected a lot more people than the first tournament. But those really weren't the only problems with this tournament, and I'll be the first to admit that there was a general lack of interest on our part with this tournament, and that's on me, solely on me. The tournaments, the Toribash tournaments we've done, that is an entirely me production. Cam, Reese, and Jack, or John, I think, John might have still been a part of this channel when we started the second tournament. I'm not sure when the timing works out on that. But they had no impact on the Toribash tournament. That is all me. And 32 players, it just beat me down. I mean, that would be, what was it, 8 rounds of the, no, more than that, because it was 8 rounds in the first tournament. I think it was 14 or 16 rounds of just the first wave, the same mods, video after video, and it got unfun for me, so I can't imagine how boring it was for you guys to watch. That was another mistake we made. And it all ties into just having a too big idea and not putting enough thought into it to work out whether or not we could pull it off. The mods were also a big problem. Not necessarily the mods we were playing, but the fact that we were playing the same mods every single week. It worked in the first tournament because it was an Aikido tournament. It didn't work in this tournament because there were 16 rounds of watching people play Aikido Big Dojo, whatever else we were doing. It's been so long I actually can't even really remember what mods we were playing, but it just got stale. I mean, I assume there's a lot of you out there who share this opinion that the tournament very rapidly got stale. And another part of that is that we allowed entry by everyone and randomly picked the people in the tournament. So for a lot of the early rounds, we'd have black belts going up against white belts and green belts, and those rounds just aren't that interesting because you know who's going to win. You may see an awesome lucky win by the green belt, but you know ultimately that person's not going to go on to win the tournament, you know? So that was a big problem too, because we essentially had 16 rounds of not that interesting mods after 3 or 4 videos, and not that interesting battles because a lot of the belts were randomly selected. So it just became a very uninteresting project to do, and I assume, like I said, to watch. It kind of had to be, and we didn't really see that much hate in the comments, but I certainly saw the views drop off after round 10 of the same mod. And don't get me wrong, there were still some highlights. There were still some really good bits in those videos, but like it was nothing compared to the first tournament that was snappy, out on time, and didn't overstay its welcome, which this tournament definitely did. And that's, again, something that we'll take and learn from in our future tournaments. Speaking of, let's talk about the future and where we're going to go from here. Like I said, this tournament is done now. I will not be, even if a couple of people who were in the tournament are like, oh, wait, no, I will be a part of it now. I don't want to do this, you know? I think there's a lot of people out there who share that sentiment of just put this to bed, move along, and at least we got to have a winner, I guess. So, firstly, as I've said, there will be a 3rd, 4th, 5th. There will be more tournaments. They'll just be a little bit different. We have loads, and I mean loads of ideas to make sure that our future events, tournaments, etc. run a lot smoother than this one. By God, we have ideas for this. So we will be doing a 3rd tournament relatively soon. What you can expect from that is a smaller event, but more frequent. I mean, our original plan was to do a large tournament once a year or maybe every 6 months or something. You can expect to see much smaller events coming out of us, but more frequent. So we might be going back to the original tournament of 16 players, maybe even going down to 8 and just keeping them out as frequent as possible. You'll most likely see much more themed tournaments because, again, we really didn't like the white belt fighting the black belt matchup you could have. So we may do black belt only tournaments, white belt only tournaments, you know? Stuff like that to try and make sure that every round is a lot more interesting and to make sure that we don't end up burning you out and us out during the production of the tournament. Because that is probably the final nail in the coffin. All the other problems, the amount of players, the fact that people weren't interested, the mods, they are problems. But the biggest problem that was caused by those 3, 4, however many things is that we all lost interest. I lost interest in producing the video. You guys lost interest in actually following the tournament. And that is just not fun for anyone involved. So with our future projects, you can expect to see shorter, snappier, way more interesting, and hopefully, no, not hopefully, definitely won't take 2 years to finish. We'll be hoping to film the tournaments over the course of a couple of days and then release the videos over a couple of weeks so that you guys don't have to wait years, and I mean years, to figure this out. Now, this is more of a sort of message from me, is that it's not particularly easy to recognize just when you fucked up, you know? And this tournament, it was. I've said it during live streams. Don't think I've said it in videos. It was fucked up. It was just bad. I failed. A couple of other people failed. To be honest, like I said, there were people who did dick us about, and it really did not only hold us up, but also that would be one of the causes for why I lost interest. You know, it's not fun to chase people down or to get mad at people who watch your videos because they're constantly busy or not letting you know, stuff like that. That's never fun. So, like, it was fucked up, and it is hard to sit here and just recognize that you've made bad, you know? But it was. And it's important to recognize your mistakes like that and learn from it. I am sorry for the people who entered this tournament who were excited to get in and then it just kind of fizzled out. And I apologize to the people that I had to ask to step out, although they will be getting some slots in future tournaments. 1 or 2. I won't be giving like half the tournament to people who were in the last tournament or anything like that. We'll try to spread that out. And frankly, even if you didn't enter the tournament, I'd like to apologize if you were enjoying it and just had it cut off. That's not what we, as Man on Fire Films, ever like to do. We pride ourselves on our quality and our somewhat professionalism when it comes to videos, and the way this tournament was handled, for the most part, especially by me, was very, very unprofessional. So, yeah, that kind of, you know, didn't really work out, but we have lots of ideas. The next tournaments will be different, but nonetheless, I'd like to thank you all for being relatively patient with me. I mean, like I said, we didn't get a lot of hate on this. It was just, it came up every now and again. And I'd also like to thank the contestants in the tournament who competed and were on time, punctual, polite, good sports, etc., etc. You guys the real MVPs, because you guys had to put up with me messaging you like once a month asking if you were still interested. So yeah, that actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. That's what happened to the second tournament, guys. Hopefully that helps clear it up for anybody trying to follow through the tournament or just were curious. We'll come back in a month or two, probably over the summer, and do our third tournament. And I promise you guys, it'll be done so much better than the second tournament. It's important to acknowledge your mistakes, but it's more important to learn from them. We've learned. It'll be better. Okay, yes, that's my ramble. That's my one-man, 12-minute podcast about this thing. Hopefully this helped, guys. Once again, thank you very much for the whole tournament affair and for listening to me explain it. I've been Jack Morris, Man on Fire Films, and we'll be back very soon with better events, I promise. Thanks, guys.